So this was on the front page of the Bold Gallery.
Yeah, it was front page for the entire month.
Yeah.
Most votes and everything, but unfortunately didn't get it. Not much recognition, but well, I got some really good personal
Publicity,
recognition. Yeah, I got some definitely.
Publicity is worth more than money.
That's true. That's true. So the problem we're trying to solve here, it is one that I actually did for myself. There's every time nowadays we just have like an information overload. There's just content everywhere. There's long form videos, 2-3 hours. This long post, and there's so much stuff going on, and you just want to read like this recent research paper. You want to. There's just a lot of content out there, right? So one of the challenges I think we mostly all do is like, oh, there's this interesting paper. Let me download it. Let me put it in ChatGPT, summarize it, give me a conversation with it, or this long form video, give me the transcript, and we do this all manually. And I want to make this like super simple. So the whole concept here is bring any content, and it doesn't have to be text or video or audio. It could be any form, and convert it into whatever form it suits for you. I'm a true believer that where we're heading is hyper-personalization of everything, hyper-personalization of education, of consumption, of everything. And I think we need to start giving control back to the users of consumers of how they want to consume the content. Today, you go to any news website or anything like that, and you're forced to consume the content the way they provide it, with the timeline they provided, with the structure they provided. And I don't think that makes sense. I think we need to put another layer on the web that allows you to just personalize the web for you. Absolutely any content, right? And you probably will think, oh, I'm sure there are extensions about this, but just think about this is just not text. This is from any media to any media adapted to you. Okay, so all this was 100% vibe coded. This one, I have 40 years of experience developing. So for me, it was really hard to say, I'm gonna truly vibe code this. And I'll show you kind of the insights that I got from this, because I think it was eye-opening for me. I forced myself not to touch a single line of code, and I wanted to 100% vibe code. And it was very painful. But I can tell you there was a lot of really incredible lessons learned from this, and hopefully, a few of you here and whoever is watching this online, will see some really great insights that will hopefully encourage you to actually build or vibe code this type of things in the future. So the way this works is, and this is probably the reason I think maybe it didn't get selected, because I think it's like not many people know about this. Even very technical people that I work with don't know about this. There's this notion of bookmarklets. How many people have heard about bookmarklets? Not many, right? I mean, there's bookmarks, but not many people have used bookmarklets. Bookmarklets are actually an incredible way, and the reason for this is because on the hackathon, the rules they changed halfway through, and they said we're not allow extensions, and like, shit, that's what I want to do. So I had to get very creative, and I thought, oh, bookmarklets actually might work for this. And actually, I love this bookmarklet because it doesn't require any installation or anything like that. But you essentially go to the Unravio.io. By the way, this is open for everyone. It's free, so you can just use it right now, right away. Essentially, you go to this bookmarklet thing, you make sure you open your bookmarks bar here and here. So Ctrl-Shift there or whatever. And essentially, you see this little button here, you just kind of go and drag it to your bookmarks bar. That's it. That what it does, injects the JavaScript code that now you can run on any content, whether it's a YouTube video, a PDF, document, anything that you watch online. Now you have a superpower there to simplify everything your way. That's all you've done. Okay, I'm gonna do it again because a lot of people are like, I don't know how to do this, and I realized, I spent I think 30 minutes with my mom. She was on the phone in Spain, and I was trying to tell her, you just gotta drag it. It's like, how do I drag it? It's like, it's not obvious that you can actually do this on a browser, right? But be aware, this is a very powerful thing. You essentially click it, and you just drag it to your bar, and that you have your bookmarklet, okay? And that immediately you have the superpower now of simplify absolutely everything online. So now I'm gonna go, for example, hey, there's this great video from Lex Friedman, 2.5 hours. People like to listen to it sometimes in the car, but hey, sometimes they just want to get a glimpse of it, right? So this 2-hour video, I click on simplify this. This will download the whole transcript, analyze it, and then it gives me lenses, allows me to personalize it how I want it. Do I want just give me the 5 bullet points, or just give me don't tell me the typical things. I want you to give me like unique insights, things that are not intuitive, something that are very unique about this author. I want to chat with the video, right? How many times have you seen a scientist talk about something very interesting? You want to have a conversation with them, right? So all of a sudden you can chat with that content. You can create a mind map. You can create a podcast. You can create any content in any format whether it is audio, video, or even conversational, right? However you want to learn or learn about anything, you can actually use it here. I'm just gonna pick here just the 5-point bullets. And essentially, yeah, notice how fast I was. Still, I mean, I use this, the thing about this, I use it every single day, because once you get used to it, it's like, why will I ever read the web anyway like this, right? So essentially now, you just have, hey, just very, very nice summary of what it is, and then I can say, well, maybe I want to chat with it, or maybe, but this allows you to now not have to go and consume content the way they tell you to consume it. Now you have control of how you consume content. Of course, I'm a little bit of a internet hoarder, so I compile information from everywhere. So I'm a big believer of the second brain concept of the story.
Obsidian.
Kind of obsidian, yeah. So I'm building. This allows you to build your own vault, your own knowledge base of all things in the format that you want. So now I'm all my articles, and I can add tags and everything. So now I have my second brain, all my knowledge, everything that I find in the format that I want, always stores or always accessible, right? I can search for it or whatever. So this is the MVP of this. What I was trying to build, I didn't have time for the hackathon, is actually the other side. This is the consumer side. I think there's just a lot of potential for publishers. What I'm working on is a 2-line JavaScript code that you can embed to any blog post, Substack, or whatever. You put it in there, and any publisher can immediately offer hyper-personalization of their content, right? Imagine how much that will increase retention of their users, how much it will keep people on their site and engage with their site. Because now all of a sudden you offer hyper-personalized experience to any content that you publish. Actually, that's how it originally started. I want to write a blog post, like, man, people consume it differently. It's like, oh, it will be, I'm always impressed that there's absolutely nothing right now today to allow publishers to provide a way to hyper-personalize the content. So this has a huge potential. And I'm, of course, definitely going to keep on using it. I encourage everyone to use it. Again, this is Unravio. It's available right now, and it's free. I mean, there has a paid version as well, but you can use 10 times per day, which is plenty of enough, I think, for most people. And it's it's available right now. Bookmarklet and done. Hopefully, we'll get the extension soon. I don't know if you wanted me to kind of give an overview of like lessons learned and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess like coming from kind of, writing code to vibe coding, like what were you said it was a little painful, like what were the things that were like most painful?
So yeah, I'll show you like what I would call like the 3 myths that I want to kind of break. Hopefully with this presentation you take over. I'm going to actually give me my backpack here. The first thing you'll notice here is the style is very unique, right? A lot of people in vibe coding think, well, all the websites, and I saw them here, they all look the same. They're all kind of ShatDCN, Tailwind. They all look kind of the same, right? And I want to have something different. So I thought, is like, how can I do this, right? So what I did here is I went one night with my wife, and we were actually drinking. I got a little bit tipsy, I guess, and I went to this comic shop, and this thing kind of got my attention a lot. It's like, okay, this is kind of like a really incredible publication. It's not the typical layout. The colors were kind of, it's a kind of a brutalist style, completely kind of breaks the typical publishing structure. And I was like, oh, that would be interesting. How can I adapt this to vibe coding? Back then, there was this famous producer called Rock Rubin saying that vibe coding is the punk rock of coding. In the sense that now with just 3 chords, you can essentially create any band in the 70s of punk rock. I think now in the new era, with 3 prompts, you can create anything you want. And I think this whole philosophy or spirit of anyone can build anything is huge. And I think I got inspired by this kind of punk rock comic to actually do this. So what I did is I got a copy of this and then digitalized it, put it into ChatGPT and say, hey, create the most detailed design spec for a website following these guidelines. And that was the hack here. That was the first hack I want to show you. Is like, don't get limited to just, hey, just create me a website. Go outside, get inspired, go back to ChatGPT or some powerful AI and say, hey, just reverse engineer this and give me the best style guide for this. In there, in that style guide, create me animations. You notice here, there's like even subtle effects that as a developer will take me a while. Like this effect, like this glitch effect, is not something that I will probably as a developer, I will probably spend like an entire day just to do this. again, this was byte coded there. It was on the prompt, on that massive prompt, to introduce glitches, to introduce like things that are not centered, things that are kind of rotated. So all those things I didn't have to provide it, just extracted directly from reverse engineering the same. So that's the first thing. It's just not all byte coded sites need to look the same. The next one is there is a sense that this only works for prototyping. I think this is a good example, this contest of how many people build actually production-ready applications. It was extremely painful. I did consume a lot of tokens with this. But I think if I had to do it again, I probably consume that much less. Immediately, your context window gets pretty massive, and it's really hard to manage. So some tips there, I would say, Bolt in particular allows you to trim, say, hey, just, I want you to just look at this branch or this folders. That way you don't have to scan the entire code base. So that's one thing. There's another thing, which is, especially when you're troubleshooting, Bolt, the way they troubleshoot is it starts injecting a lot of console commands. So immediately your code just blows up. You're saying, okay, it's great that for readability, but it starts consuming so much content because it injects so much console log. So I would say two things for that. One is, in a very frequent way, go and say, hey, clean up all the comments, because that reduces sometimes 50% of the code. Another one is refactor. There's sometimes when you're reiterating, it creates a lot of code that then it forgets about it. So sometimes you say, hey, just this code, this massive page that is like, now all of a sudden you start adding everything there, just break it down. Just use first principles here, just use patterns to make sure you break this down in proper structure. So that was another thing. Those are probably the two or three things that I will say keep in mind always. Oh, another one is go to discussion mode. So it's discussion mode saves you like 90% of your tokens, quite a bit. So that way it's not coding. You can just say, hey, just think about what you're going to do before you do it, and that doesn't consume a lot. They say only 10% of the tokens, so that actually allows you to think about through things better, right? So, and that I think most of the byte coding tools out there, not just Bolt, have that option. So, highly recommend to go to discussion mode in whether you're doing cloud code or whatever, right? Well, the last, what was the last one? There was this. There was one more thing. Yeah, just
I'll ask another question and see if it comes back to you.
Let me ask. Yeah, any questions up to here?
What tech stack did you use? Like Superbase backend, or like what other kind of services did you use for this?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That reminds me of another one thing that I forgot. So I used all the default Bolt and New stacks. So Superbase, Netlify. Of course, for the audio, I use 11 Labs. What else? For the AI models, I use Open Router. Extremely powerful. If you don't know about this, allows you to have one single API for all the LLMs out there. So we just want, and I have an auto router, so it knows which one to direct to at the right time. So extremely powerful. That way, you only have one entry point for all the LLMs. So really, really powerful. But that reminds me of something that if you're doing byte coding, that you gotta be really careful. It is the security is horrible. Anything that you build on top of Bolt is kind of scary. I mean, I haven't checked any of those projects, but I'm pretty sure they have incredibly huge security bugs. Like literally, you can access any kind of database. I mean, most by default, the databases are open, and you can query all the users for any site. So it's kind of scary what it does. So again, just not only refactoring, clean up code, but eventually say, hey, do me a security review of this, and it's really scary what it shows. So it's like, oh no, yeah, actually all these endpoints are open. It's like, oh my God, this is like very, very scary. So make sure you keep security in mind always, especially if you're trying to go production, because it's just the amount of thousands of products here that are out there in byte coded, the amount of bugs they have there, the security bugs, is crazy.
I have two questions for you.
Sure.
One really quick, which is just how much money did you spend in tokens outside of whatever the default was? Like I pumped in $500 or $200.
No. So I spent, so in Bolt, because I don't think I spent anyone else. I think Netlify had to increase the tire to the minimum, because otherwise it was just too little, and it was reaching the bandwidth very quickly. And I don't think that was like $10 or $5. Okay. On Bolt, I went to the $100 a month. If I have to do it again, I don't think I would need to consume that much, because it was a lot of trial and error.
Right.
things that I learned that I'm pretty sure right now with like $50 you can do it. Like you could have done this for even less, but yeah.
So my second question is, as an engineer who actually like I honored that you like, okay, I'm not going to get in there like, it's wrecking my code.
I know.
Stop wrecking my code.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you get past the point of building something that's like MVP, I'm wondering where, like, how long do you see before we get to, like, is it going to be a year, 6 months? Like, just looking at all the low-code platforms, if you've got a Cursor, Lovable, Wolf, all these things, where do we get where we're like, now it's actually something that can be scaled? Because that security thing is like, it's cheese, grater right now. And when you get to the point where you're like, stop screwing up my code, I just added a feature, and now it's like, I got this feature and it like totally redid the UI on this other thing or scrubbed something out. So I just wonder what you think is like the timeline for where they're going, if you have any insights, or because it's one thing to take an MVP, but then I'm like, I need real engineers here to not F it up if we're going to start taking on real money and scaling this.
So it's a great question. I feel the time is now. I mean, I don't think we have to wait 1 year. I think it's time is now. But with an asterisk, right? I think if you go to any of the generative platforms, like let's say Midjourney, anyone can go there and say, hey, create an image of a house in a hill. And anyone field can be an artist. Now, who are the ones that do the incredible work in Midjourney? Are photographers, right? People that know how to speak the language, say, not just put me the house, but do it with this camera, with this angle, at this time of the day, from this perspective. That language that only a person that knows very well how to do it will know how to get the most of it. I'm pretty sure someone that is not technical has no clue that has all these security bugs and anyone can steal all the PII information. They have no clue. So I think if you're a developer, you turn into like a 10x, 100x developer like right now. I think like you can go production right now if you have tech skills. I'm pretty sure, and this is a matter of time. Like maybe in a year, anyone can do it. But today, that tech skill opens you the capacity to start building production ready apps. I think this is production ready. Yeah. I mean, I've done it and I review it. I mean, I didn't want to touch the code, but I've seen the code. And the code is like sometimes even surprising. Like, oh, that's actually a pretty good refactor you did there. And I had to tell them to refactor. And I sometimes have to be intentional. It's like, hey, I think this code is a bit massive. Can you make it more modular? Can you make it more modular? And I had to guide it a little bit, just give it a hint, and it does an incredible job. So for me, I think it is ready. If you're a developer, just 10x you whatever you want to do. I can do projects really fast. This reminded me actually something that I did want to cover. Another myth with vibe coding is many times you reach what is called the valley of despair, where all of a sudden you get this incredible prototype, and all of a sudden you just do it. I don't know, there's some bug, and you're missing the point. You're not want to do it. It keeps on failing and failing and failing. It's like that's where you lose all your tokens. So if you're gonna get something out of today's presentation, hopefully this for me is like the ultimate hack that I discovered there. I've done a lot of that one. So it's a prompt that it says, hey, analyze, so go to conversational mode, right? Not coding mode, and just do a 5 why root cause analysis. Everyone's familiar with like 5 why root cause analysis, right? You have to ask a question, say why 5 times until you get to the root cause of the problem. That 90% of the times got me out of the battle, and it was very powerful. So highly recommend that hack, because I mean with this kind of tools you always get stuck and it's very frustrating, but that hack generally gets me out and allows me to continue without getting stuck with it.
The other plus one for anybody is like, just as opposed to just going and keep fixing it, like just roll back the code and try something like, again, just to redo that feature or whatever, and it'll sometimes take a totally different path.
Yep.
Especially if you're not as familiar, like you can't see the code, or you're not like knowing what's going on.
That's true. That's a good one. And also another one could be don't try to like give prompts that do a lot of stuff. Be very granular and say, I want this little thing, now this little thing. Clean up the cache and focus on each part that you're working on. Sometimes, since they both uses a mono repo, so it has a backend and the front end the same repo. Sometimes you have to say, okay, now focus on the front end. And I want you to specifically on this page, and I want to go to the backend, this API. So I want you. You do have to make sure that you direct a little bit.
Yeah. When do we get the browser extension?
What's that?
When do we get the extension?
Well, now that the hackathon is over, there's a lot of. I mean, I highly recommend the Bookmarklet. It doesn't require installation, and there's no Google not tracking you or anything like that. So I prefer Bookmarklet because there's no tracking. I mean, it's just You just put it there, and the JavaScript is not something scary. The only thing it does is get a URL and pass it to Unravio. So it is pretty straightforward. In the meantime, if I think you're into UX, I do feel user experience is super important. In this last couple of days, you were telling me, hey, you want to bring something and share something? I want to show you something, and I launched this last night. So hopefully you take it in. I mean, I think it's a fun thing to use. So this URL is Unravio. So I built on top of Unravio this thing called howto.unravio, right? Which is essentially a collection of patterns. And notice that the style is all the same. So essentially it's using that same style guide that I showed before. So I follow the same patterns. And this one, again, it was done in just very quickly. And essentially you have a collection of 111 patterns on usability, Occam's razor, Tesla's law, all the patterns we have for anything on UX related. So if you're into UX, this is, especially if you're an engineer, you like to have your recipes or your patterns. This is a great collection of patterns. But also, and some of these patterns probably will have Richard Branson, right? And it has a quote, and you can have related content. But now you can also talk with the quote author. So you can have an conversation with Richard Branson about a topic of, hey, you think, how can I apply this to a problem that I'm trying to solve? So you have a bunch of really thought leaders on design, on simplicity, on philosophy. So you have here, it'll go based on this kind of punk style. But hopefully there's no business here or anything like that. I thought it was kind of cool to have a great kind of cheat sheet of people to talk to and resources to simplify.
Is that a link off the main nav?
What's that?
Is that a link from the main nav, or you have to know the background?
I'll put a link later. I didn't have time. Again, I launched this last night. But if you go to Unravio, you just put how to at the beginning, .unravio. So it's a subdomain of Unravio. Yeah.
So your coding experience beforehand was mainly like front end stuff or full stack, or
what's that?
Like where did you focus as like a developer before?
Before this hackathon, or
yeah.
I've been coding for 40 years, but I've
done
everything.
Full stack, or like mainly focused on the front end or like back end.
For this project or before?
Just your experience before.
Everything.
I've
done mobile. I've done 40 years. I've done a lot.
So full stack. Like.
I've done Web3. I've done mobile. I've done VR. I've done everything. So there's that.
But this was your first time using a
It's the first time saying I'm not going to code.
Yeah.
Like I'm saying I'm going to use this. I'm going to force myself to not touch a single line of code. And it was tempting because sometimes you're like, hey, no, the problem is there. Just go there. But it's just like, okay, I'm just going to force not to do it and open my eyes of actually the potential of that this has and how this is going to transform. And I do feel like there's going to be a new generation of punk development, a new generation that is going to build incredible things. So I'm really, really excited about this.
Go to bolt.news/gallery and show the gallery's still there. Check it.
Let's see, yeah. It's been there for the entire month, and I was like, damn it, like at least, I mean, the one I think even with the most votes and everything. So I was hoping to get something there, but
it's the pink man.
There you are. So,
when it comes to did you have any issues with getting did you ever have to throw up any additional servers to run any backend code or anything, and then try to get Bolt to communicate with that?
I didn't have to drop servers. The only thing I had to do, which was very painful, and Bolt unfortunately is not ideal for that. When the project gets massive, and I reached the limit of what Bolt size project you can have, and I was thankfully putting everything GitHub, so I was always synchronizing with GitHub. But at some point I had to clean up, and there's the only way to do that is to essentially tell you to duplicate the code and create a new one because the context window was so big of the history. And that was extremely painful. I had to duplicate the repo, create everything again, rewire the backend all over again. It was just like, come on, it's just like very frustrating. I hope they had a better experience for that. But yeah, that's that. No, I didn't have to change the entire, the only thing I had to do is like a migration from one repo to another with a new project and start over again into the wiring, and it was kind of a bit of a waste. Again, if I knew all the things that I knew now, I probably wouldn't have to reach that point ever because I would have been more cautious on the context window and how much I provide. But it's the lessons learned from the journey.
How many weeks was that? Weekend or all the long?
I have three kids on summertime, so they have very little time. So I mean, I think the core of it was fully done in the first 2 weeks, again, nights and weekends before going to bed. And of course, anything like that, you always have, you do 80% of the work, and the last 20% is the most painful because there's this bug. I'm a bit with the user experience. It is not perfect. It's not aligned well, and this type of things just consumes a lot of time. So that, I think the last 2 weeks were most about like fine tuning a lot of things.
The problem with 80/20 is you still got to get to 100%.
Exactly. Yeah. I had to cut a lot of features that I had in mind and everything, but I think for the hackathon, I think as a POC is pretty good.
Cool. Thank you.